Milk. I need milk. Hello. All right, what are you doing in there? Do you want to see the worst scissors ever made? Look at them, look, eh? Oh, my goodness, hide your modesty. Oh, good girl. It's for your takeover. Yeah.
This is Viewer Takeover. We film every Monday night. We bring it to YouTube sometime Tuesday. I'm pretty sure this is going up Tuesday morning, but no promises. My name is Brian Paul from this channel right here, PSVR Without Parole, and the boys to my right, the boys, Dave from Dave Station VR.
Hello, hello, hello.
And that gentleman on the far right-hand side of your screen is AJ from The Underground, PSVR Underground.
What's up, Brian? Dave, Game Cats.
Guys, I don't want to mess around. I know we've got a busy show ahead of us, so let's start by thanking a bunch of people, which is what we do here on Viewer Takeover. And the first person we want to thank, John Boy Dojo, for that awesome Viewer Takeover introduction.
Yeah, that was great.
Yo, we need it. Like, Netflix needs to give you a call right now and give you your own special. And so does, like, Britain's Got Talent and stuff. Like, we need to get you on these shows, like, right now, man. That was
I've already pitched it to Quibi. Whatever the fuck that thing is.
I don't know what that is.
I have no idea.
That seems to be the case. Yeah, no, it's a thing for your phone. They spent all this money, like millions of dollars, building this app, and it's like, oh, the whole thing is you watch it on your phone, and they're 7-minute episodes. You could watch it in line at the bank, and it's like nobody wants to watch a fucking TV show in line at the bank. They want to scroll through Twitter or whatever. Like,
But everybody will
failed.
on speakerphone.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah. Well, they're not. It totally failed.
If you want to introduce next week's show, make sure you send us a short, sweet, seductive, very maybe humorous, I don't know, just turn the camera on yourself and say, welcome to Viewer Takeover, withoutparole@gmail.com. But of course, John's not the only person we want to thank. We also want to thank these awesome, illustrious, fluffy kittens down here. These are the people who went to patreon.com/withoutparole. Giving us $1 or more every month because they like what they see and they want to keep this channel running. People keep going, is there a way to donate money to the channel? And I was like, you don't. You're one of the 55,000 people who don't watch Viewer Takeover. I get it. So if you're watching this and you want to donate to the channel, that's the way to do it. That is what I live off of. So thank you very, very much to all of the Patreon supporters. AJ, who else do we want to thank this week?
We would like to thank those who support us in another way by changing their name on YouTube or Google, by doing changing their name to something GameCat related, something GameCat adjacent, as you, Brian, and something GameCat adjacent would like to say.
There's your shout
And
out.
this week, we've got 2 new GameCats to welcome to the GameCat Dojo. Starting with Kill Artist 1, the Dreamweaver GameCat.
I believe you can get me through the night. Yeah, I knew I wasn't hitting that note.
I had to practice that on mute a few times before. It probably still
Oh, that's what you were doing. I saw you. You were doing it. I was like, what?
Actually, I was doing that for the next one, but I still wasn't able to get past just doing Bane. So the other one is The Force is Strong with this GameCat.
Can we hear more of the impression that you were working on?
The Force is strong with this GameCat.
I can't do any of that shit.
If you don't
It's
know,
better than your British
Sorry.
accent, though. Your British accent is god awful, Brian. I was trying to tell you on stream.
Oh god, that was absolutely terrible, guys. If you change your name to GameCat because you're a loyal follower of Without Parole, that's what a GameCat is, man. Make sure you tell us in the comments below #GameCat, all one word, and we'll give you a shout out on next week's show. But what we really do here is what, Dave?
Oh, well, usually we get a few questions from people in the community that might be posted one of various ways. You can go to the Discord, and there's a whole channel just for you to post these questions. Or any video you see on Without Parole, you just leave a #Viewer Takeover. You'll get found, and you might end up having your question on the show. So today we got 4 questions. So who wants to take the first one here?
First question comes to us from Twitcher, the single-player GameCat. Wow. On Discord. Make sure you join our Discord. Link's in the description. He writes, #Viewer Takeover. Is there any point in asking a question this week about anything other than Dreams VR?
No.
Nope. Next question. Dave?
All right. This one comes from Billy Paw, the GameCat. Great friend of the channel. #Viewer Takeover. He says, should the success of Dreams put smaller dev teams on high alert? No matter how good they might or might not be, Indie titles like Star Bear Taxi, Throw Anything, Cavernous Wastes, Floor Plan, etc. could all be made in Dreams, and the Dreams community is proving that they have the chops to do so, and for free. What do you guys think about this one?
Such a loaded question. Such a loaded
Yeah.
question. AJ, do you want to take this first?
Sure. Yes, they should be on high alert because, this is the thing. Even before Dreams came out, people were saying, "Oh, I'm just going to wait and make something better in Dreams or play something better in Dreams." Turns out you can actually do that. We didn't know the full support at the time, so we were like, "Well, let's just wait and see what kind of support before we jump the gun." And sure enough, that's what it is. So if developers want to make an impact, bring a really valuable product and make money, they're going to have to really step up their game just a little bit and make something creative and, something maybe not necessarily you can't do in Dreams, but something that is worth purchasing.
Yeah.
I think one thing, not even just being worried about releasing stuff that could be made in Dreams or that people are going to say, oh, this isn't even as good as some of the Dreams I played.
Right.
I think developers should not be scared so much as maybe they ought to think about that first, because that's something that you can get into with less investment as opposed to like an actual game engine and trying to go through Sony QA and all that stuff. But if they are really being truthful about the potential to eventually release these games for sale in a marketplace, imagine how much day one support and all the buyers you're going to get. If you've been part of the Dreams community, you've been working with other creators, collaborating, and people know your stuff and they're excited to see the new updates or whatever. So when you say, hey, I'm releasing the full game, you guys have played part of it on Dreams, but here's the whole thing, people will already be excited. Where a lot of indie devs like Throw Anything, there's not a built-in community waiting for Throw Anything who gives a shit about Throw Anything. So as far as marketing, you've got your built-in kind of consumer base right there if you're in the shit, if you're in there making Dreams, because all these people seem to stay up on other people's creations, try and figure out how did they do this, how can I reincorporate this into my game, this thing I saw somewhere else. And they seem really helpful with each other, and we always talk about indie devs kind of being in a bubble. They don't see what else is going on. If you're in the Dreams community, it seems like those people aren't in a bubble. They're seeing every cool thing that every creator out there, top tier stuff, is putting out. So I think devs should maybe consider going through Dreams rather than worrying about fighting against it.
Yeah, you make a good point about starting on Dreams, maybe making your prototype for your game in Dreams. Like the Missing Constellation, we were just talking about on the last top 5 list. Joffrey Mann has created this amazing world. Immediately, you feel like there's something special here. It's a well thought out idea, and it just looks stunning. It sounds stunning, but the concept alone is just it feels very rewarding. And I kept thinking, where could you take this from here? Like what could you do to make me go, here's $20 or here's $30 or $40. Like, give me your full vision for this thing. Or maybe it is his full vision. I don't want to start, deciding what these things are. Maybe that's exactly what he wanted to make. But if he wanted to turn that into a full-fledged game, I would buy it in a heartbeat.
Yes,
absolutely in a heartbeat.
Same.
The thing
that's one of the best things I've seen.
The thing we
And
kept
I
saying,
think he's one thing I've seen about that guy is that he actually on his Twitter and his social media and stuff and Dreams profiles says that he wants to be a game developer. And I'm like, dude, you're halfway there. You're already making the best shit in Dreams. Some of the best shit in Dreams.
For sure.
A Ride at Altopolis and Missing Constellation. He's
what
done
was
all
the
kinds of
Wipeout
cool
one?
stuff.
He was that one too, right?
Slide Out. Yeah, Slide Out 3019.
Yeah.
If he puts a first-person mode in that shit, yeah, incredible. Because that runs really well too. So, I mean, I think we're going to see some legitimate developers come out of here, some new indie devs, and he, I hope, is one of them.
That's what I'm hoping, right? Like where it's kind of like homegrown, that kind of like internally like built. What is it called? Like internal promotion kind of thing. That would be a great cause and effect to have. But yeah, at the end of the day, these are like passion projects and stuff. And if a developer is just releasing a game on the PSN store, an indie dev, I should say, to just because they have a passion for it, there's nothing wrong with that either. It's the same thing as people doing stuff in Dreams. It's not about the money. It's about, expressing yourself or sharing your creation with the world. And I think there's plenty of pride to be had in that. But from a consumer standpoint, I think, or for trying to make money or something like that, definitely going to have to bring something that Dreams cannot necessarily offer.
Yeah. Before we really dove into Dreams, the thing we kept saying when people would say we could, somebody could make this in Dreams, it seems so derogatory, right? Because it's not really about having the technical prowess to make a game. It's more about, are you creative enough to come up with a concept that's this good?
Or
And
diligent enough.
right. I mean, it's like somebody could make this in Dreams. Yeah, but it'll take you a fucking year, right? It'll take you a year to make kind of like a full-fledged game. We like some of the things that we love, even if they're an hour long, it's still like, well, it's an hour-long game, we've got plenty of those for sale on the PlayStation Store. You look at something like Bonfire. Bonfire is one of the things where you're like, I'm so happy to give those guys money, because what they've done is create something that could totally be done in Dreams, but it's super refined and polished and creative, and it's all those things that make you go, here you go, have my money. Like that, I'm happy to give those kind of developers money. And so if any of the Dreams developers want to branch out and start selling their games, and then I think I've seen plenty that are almost to that level.
And
I think
I'd love to see what the. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I think this puts more of the crappy games on high alert that we've gotten, because we've gotten some amazing games, but we've also gotten a lot of bad ones too. And I mean, I don't think people were buying those anyway, so it didn't really matter. But this definitely puts the games that aren't very good on high alert.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right. Should we move on to the next question?
Certainly.
AJ?
This is Niculo from the Discord. Says hashtag viewer takeover, our trusty mod. Shout out to Niculo. You're awesome, man. He says, is Dreams now a required purchase for developers? I think it's not only a great place for people to flesh out ideas, it's a great place to get ideas. The ability to see inside of so many other people's minds. Mind
grapes. That's a 30 Rock reference. Mind grapes.
Other mind grapes can only help us spur on VR innovation.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, to get honestly, to get ideas, I think is the key point here. Like, developers are making their own games in Unity or whatever, but to get ideas for, if you go, oh, I want to make a game that's like this, and then you see it, somebody's already kind of made it in Dreams, and it might be even better than what you were thinking. You might go, well, I have to go back to the drawing board, or at least expand on this idea and build it up. It's definitely some place that you should be looking around and saying, what are people making, and is there a need for what I'm making on the PlayStation Store, especially if it's already in Dreams, or done better than you were planning on making it. What do you guys think?
I think it's important for developers to play games in general. I think that even goes for Media Molecule a little bit. One of the things I think they didn't get right completely in this for these tools, the move controls. And, they kind of innovated their own move controls. And if I had like one major complaint, it would be that, like pressing the trigger on the left hand to walk forward and then pressing the move and then turning it right. It's innovative. It was a nice idea. It was a nice try. But if they would have played Saints and Sinners, if they would have played Skyrim or some of them, listen to feedback. This is one of the things I always praise Saints and Sinners for, is that they went out, they watched reviews, they listened to feedback, stuff like that. And they avoided a lot of problems. We were like, we have no issues with this game, pretty much, when it comes to like the VR implementation. So I think it's important to play games in general, watch reviews from people that review lots of games, like, these two guys next to me, and just, do your research.
Yeah, and I think in terms of keeping an eye out on what other people's ideas are and what works in VR and what doesn't, Dreams is a good low-cost way for an indie dev to keep an eye on that stuff, because you got to think about part of the reason they're not playing everything is because they're probably broker than we are. If they're making an indie VR title, it's probably they're putting their life savings, they're second mortgaging their house or something to make this game. If they're a really small dev, it's just a passion project. But you pay $30 once, you get to see all kinds of stuff instead of having to keep up with and buy all the new games as they come out. Like, maybe they don't have an extra $40-$50 laying around for Iron Man because they're just trying to eat some ramen until they finish their game. And so you buy Dreams once, you get to see all this cool stuff. So I think that's useful to kind of keep an eye on the landscape. Yeah. But it's its own landscape, really. It's not representative of the larger VR market, but it's still something. So
Right. If you're an indie dev, then Dreams is only representative up to a certain point. Right. It
Yeah.
represents like the kind of the lower tier of the indie side of things. And I think maybe time for the last question.
Certainly. Is this one mine or is it yours?
I don't know.
Take it away, Dave.
All
Take
right,
it
I'll
away,
take it.
Dave.
This one comes from Shen Muso over on the Discord. He says, #viewer takeover. Doesn't Dreams prove that it's piss easy for Lloyd to flip that switch? I had not for one second considered that all existing Dreams content could be so easily ran in VR. Does this mean there's no excuse for studios not implementing VR support in a plethora of existing and forthcoming games? The answer to that is no. It doesn't prove that it's piss easy to flip the switch. It proves that in Dreams, which is a specific engine designed with eventual VR support in mind, that you can flip the switch and make it work with some tweaks. But there's also caveats, like games that are too intensive, even in scenes where you wouldn't expect, will kick you back to cinema mode. And sometimes you can't get past that, even if you turn all the settings on.
Right.
And I've heard people say on a OG PS4, some games won't even start up for them because they get that warning immediately as soon as they try it.
Yeah.
So there is still, there's still limitations here. But the thing is that it's easy in this engine to do that. But you also don't have to go through all these hoops of making sure that switch you flipped doesn't break so-and-so's save file and doesn't get this guy a blue screen. And this, by going through Sony's QA process, that takes time, that takes money, that takes dedication. Whereas with this, you can just flip it, and if it doesn't work, you can go in and tweak it, push a patch the same night. Whereas you don't have that leeway, that flexibility if you're actually in the Sony ecosystem.
Right.
So I think it doesn't prove that in general, anybody who's a developer can just say, oh, RE8, flip the switch. You know what I mean? The engine has to be designed with that in mind. And there are going to be tweaks that have to be made, especially on a full-on game that's like an RE8 or something like that. You know, if you get your 30-minute Dreams experience working just right, that's 30 minutes of bugs you had to troubleshoot, but not 15 hours of bugs you had to troubleshoot, 20 hours of bugs. So it's not really, it's easy in Dreams. That's all I'm saying. It's not easy anywhere else.
Aren't we streaming these things anyway? Like we're not, these are not on your hard drive. These are not technically running on your PlayStation 4 itself.
Yeah,
right.
that's
So
true.
and so
I
it's
assume it downloads some kind of temporary file to like boot up the thing. But yeah,
right. So it's not just using our PlayStation as the power behind it all. So that's an issue. I was just talking to Reggie over at Strange Games, and he was actually correcting us about something that we had said about VR games, and because it is actually as easy as flipping a switch to turn things into VR. But then it's all the things you have to worry about on top of that, right? It's making sure that the game pass is served, which means very often you're going to have to lower the resolution of the textures to keep the frame rate up. You're going to have to lower the resolution of the entire game. You're going to have to fuck with the frame rate, optimize things, and so. Yes, you flip the switch, but most games are designed to run at 60 FPS on a standard flat screen. So once you got that, then suddenly you have to make a ton of changes to get the VR version, which is rendering two scenes at the same time, back up to 60 FPS. So it's definitely some work. Yes, you flip a switch, but yes, there's a lot of work after that.
Yeah, it's a similar thing to just any game design in the past as well. I mean, some of the creators I'm talking to, I'm like, really hoping you get VR support for this, and they were like, oh, I'm working on it, man. But when I flipped the switch, he was like, it messed up everything, and he was like, I have a lot of work ahead of me before I can get this going. So yeah, they have to make optimizations to be able to get it to run properly. That is
it isn't actually as easy as flipping a switch, like AJ's saying. Like some games
get lucky, right?
Some games got lucky and they just worked like day one. The guy was like, this is so easy. But then you hear other people, like AJ said, that you got to tweak it a little bit.
This is Resident
Evil guy said he had a bunch of problems. He actually posted a video of like all the problems in VR when he first started it up.
Interesting.
That he had to fix.
Yeah, our dude Estorn that made Tektronic, he got very lucky. I mean, all he had to do was just adjust the menu when it popped up. The menu was like kind of blocking you in some ways, but he got very lucky with when he flipped it and stuff. But there's a couple games that I've been waiting on to get the VR patch that have like just insane amount of detail and movement in the background and stuff, and those are the ones that are encountering the most problems.
Yeah, for sure.
The
This
Fallout
actually
4
brings
one.
me to a kind of other question that popped into my head while we were talking about this, which is when we get to the state where eventually you can sell your games on PSN or wherever outside of the Dreams, landscape. What's the certification process for that? Because Dreams will let you play games that drop in frame rate to below what Sony calls optimal and still run because you've said, okay, I want to do this. I'm cool with the risks associated. Um, I can't imagine Sony's going to allow that as a standalone game on their store if it hits 30 frames a second. You know what I mean? And so I wonder where that comes in. Like, how do you optimize a Dreams game that already works to be able to sell standalone to people on a store?
Yeah.
That's an interesting question that I don't think we'll have the answer to for a long time. But just like a thought experiment.
I have a feeling that may not be as big of a problem once we hit the PS5 and start building on that, like an ecosystem around that.
Yeah.
We're still on kind of old hardware. It's amazing
That's
what
true,
I mean.
actually. PS5 will change a lot there. Yeah,
It
the
is
overhead.
amazing what we're even able to do right now on the PS4. It's crazy to me. So yeah, I think PS5 might change that, and that would be really interesting to see. That would be amazing for that to happen. I think that would be awesome. And, people, it could work similar way where, people give the games a rating. They also give it like a 1, 2, or 3 in terms of like the motion sickness factor and things like that. So maybe if it, gets by on a certain branch or something like that, then yeah, maybe they will pass it. But that'll be really interesting to see.
Totally agree with that angle, 100%. And I think that needs to wrap it up for another episode of Viewer Takeover.
Sure.
Indeed. Guys, so many things to remind you of. Make sure you send your Viewer Takeover introduction to withoutparole@gmail.com. Hit us up on patreon.com/withoutparolegames for
Cats.
$1.
Parole cats.
Without Parole Cats. How you doing? You're a pain in the
Tornado?
butt. She's awesome, but she's a pain
quick
in the
message. Pistol Whip was supposed to come out today, and just for those who aren't aware, it actually got pushed back to Thursday. So I know that's usually more like a Gamescast kind of thing, but this Thursday is the top 25 debate. Oh my God,
Jesus
I was
Christ.
looking forward to this for the longest time. Not anymore.
I don't know if I'm going to have time with Pistol Whip to be able to tell where it goes if it comes out the same day. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, unless we get like review keys early, I don't think it's going to be on this list. I think we'll just have to push it back to the next one.
Yeah.
So.
I'm putting it on my list, I'll tell you that. Recency bias speckles in like a little bit of a time and a place of each video, and I love that so much.
Pistol Whip number 1.
Right, I just played it. It's the most amazing thing ever.
I'm gonna argue.
Came out.
I'm going to just argue the whole time that you could have made Pistol Whip in Dreams, and that's why Dreams should be
I don't
number
think
one.
you can.
There you go.
I think you got a long time before you can do
I
that.
know.
So make sure you tune in on this Thursday, because it is, in case you've never seen or you're a recent subscriber to the channel, or if you've never seen a Gamescast where we sit around and we argue for hours at a time about our top 25 list. Most places come up with a top 25 list. Here's your top 25 PSVR games of all time. And then they just do it internally. We do it in front of you guys, and we read your comments as we do it, and sometimes we give you a little bit of input. So make sure you come hang out with us this Thursday while we do that in front of you guys, and talk a little bit about Pistol Whip beforehand.
Yeah.
So, guys, make sure you subscribe to Dave over at Dave Station VR. Make sure you subscribe to AJ over at PSVR Underground. Follow me on Twitter. Just
Don't follow AJ on Twitter. He's got nothing important, no good news.
You
Sucks. Nobody follows them.
You still
It's
have time
terrible
to
at Twitter.
vote. You still have time to vote on the Twitter poll I put up. If I listed 4 games, which one's your number one? We're just curious, man. We want to hear about it. For another episode of Viewer Takeover. I fucking don't remember how to end the show. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, AJ. My name's Brian. This is Viewer Takeover, and we're out.
Reminds me, Brian, the first time I did a live stream, it was Prada of all things.
Okay.
And when I, somebody said, oh, you just tap the share button and you go to stream once you get all your accounts linked up and everything. And like, so in my very first video on the channel, I sat there in a blue screen, not knowing how to shut it off. And like, I'm sitting there, I'm just like, guys, I really don't know how to turn this off. I'm sorry. And I just ended up just walking up to my PlayStation 4 and just pressing the power button.
Oh, what a sweet summer child you were back then. So naive. Now you're a grizzled old soul. You know all the OBS tricks and shit.
We've all been there.
All the tricks.
We were all there once. That's for sure.
It's funny. I've watched so many other people do that before too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, "Hey, come watch me do my first live stream," and
yeah.
I'm just watching for the ending. When they realize they don't know how to stop it.